this computer. All right.
Click the little button if you accept and want to stay on the call with us.
Nice to be back with everybody for another study group. Before we jump in, we just want to remind anybody who is new and would like to receive emails regarding upcoming classes and events to leave your email in the chat, please. And turn it over to Amy for some self-help.
All right. Well, we are going to start off with some words from our beautiful, I guess I'd call her teacher, leader, inspirer. Hi, Adele. So Mary says in Self-Help Book 3, let me get my notes here. Be one's own testimony. All unhappiness and fears result from not knowing myself. And that's pretty pertinent to what we're going to talk about today. If you're just joining us, before we started the session, we were talking about the fact that we have a new little kitten, and he is still working on figuring out where he ends and where the rest of the world begins. So we're going to look at stomach flow today, and the anterior descending energy flow that is the stomach flow, the exhale, the energy moving down the front of the body. If you're looking at Mary's self-help book, that's going to be book 1, pages 43 to 47. And if you are looking in Adele's book, we've either got the old book, page 22, or the new book, page 26. And basically, there's so much that this covers that I'm going to give a very brief rundown, since time is of the essence on these quick little.
Should we have folks go ahead and start?
Oh, yeah.
As you talk.
Perfect. Okay. So go ahead and put one hand on your cheek, cross it over your body, and the other hand comes to that same side collarbone. So you're working all on the same side. You can do either side, whichever is most comfortable for you. And we definitely encourage you to hang out here for a little while and then switch it up and see what the other side feels like. So this is going to aid in releasing tensions that are causing head, breathing, digestive discomforts, and bloating, as well as weight problems. I was curious to see that Mary used the word problems in her description, because I don't know that I've seen her use that anyplace else, but that is the word that's in Self-Help Book 1. So that's...
Surely she would have corrected herself as she reread that.
But anyways, I think we all know what that's all referring to. So when we're talking about problems, we're ultimately talking about projects. It's a much easier way to talk about all the things that we're constantly working with in this human existence, the things that can bog us down and lead to accumulations that ultimately manifest in the physical form. So we're also looking at Adele's book, like I said, and specifically when we have our animal companions that we're working with, this is really helping them to release long-held behavioral and digestive projects, and not necessarily even just long-held in terms of how old that particular animal is, but long-held could also be referring to generational things. You know, a lot of times, whether you prescribe to this belief or not, a lot of times people say, oh, we're looking at the parents of such and such animal to see what kind of temperament they're going to have and things like that. And as most of us in this group, I believe, would know and agree with, the animals that go into the shelter environment, it's rare that you know much about where they came from. And so working with that stomach function energy can be instrumental and super helpful in helping them to just release whatever baggage they brought with them this time around.
If you haven't switched sides yet, now would be a great time to do that.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Tait. And something else that I want to bring up is the fact that this is digestion of food and ideas. It's digestion of everything, our environment, our experiences, digestion. I would say digestion with a big capital D, because it's not just what we're eating, but it's everything. We have to process everything. And there's a lot of information that's constantly zooming around us that is coming at us that we have to put into our brains and work through. So anyway, specifically, going back to our little kitten, his name is Koa, and that is a Hawaiian word for warrior. And Tait, just before the call, reminded me that we have to be careful about the words we use. It is very fitting for how he came to us, but he also tends to be a bit of a warrior in that he's definitely working on his Saturn projects. He's pretty calm right now because he just took a little nap. And he is getting better with his Saturn projects, his boundaries and limits and disciplines. But he has a tendency to bite us and jump at us a lot. And lately that has turned into more where he's just bear hugging our legs. But in the beginning, he would bear hug and he would latch on with his teeth.
You could hear them enter your skin.
You could hear them puncturing your skin.
He would draw blood on one or both of us at least once a day.
Yeah. So anyway, again, looking at that stomach function energy, that I think that's pretty indicative of little kids, right? Not just little warrior kitties, but human kids as well. A lot of times they have projects around figuring out where their physical self ends and the other physical self begins. And they explore that by biting or hitting or running into things because they just have no concept of how close the other thing is and what that impact is going to be. Additionally, I'd like to mention that babies have a lot of information that they're trying to process, that they are processing when they first come into the physical world. And that can be super overwhelming. And that overwhelming experience can trigger them. And as we have discovered with our little Koa, sometimes he needs to take a nap to just settle all of that down and quiet all of that stimuli that's coming at him from all over and bring him back to a slightly more balanced place. And I think we're going to move into a self-help, yeah? Or a demo?
Well, that was about 10 minutes. A little storytelling, I think, maybe of how we have experienced the stomach function energy. And while we do that, we can go ahead and switch to one of the other options for balancing and harmonizing the stomach energy. And
jumper cable the thumbs. Yeah.
I think you have a pretty profound experience around the stomach function energy and kind of how you came to Jin Shin Jyutsu. So why don't you share that with us?
And interestingly enough, one of my coworkers was just asking me about this. Not even 2 days ago, she says to me, "Amy, do you ever have anxiety?" And I said, "Oh, I have a lot of experience with that project." In fact, that's how I came to connect with the art of Jin Shin Jyutsu, the beautiful gift from Jiro Marai and Mary Burmeister. and then passed on to Adele so that we could work with this gift as far as the animal world is considered. But for me personally, my anxiety manifested in, I would say, acute, daily, chronic nausea. And typically what that looked like for me is I would be fine until the middle of the afternoon, more or less, and then I would start to feel sick to my stomach. And by the time it was like the end of the workday, more or less, I would have to just come home and go to bed because I felt so awful. And a lot of times that would progress so that I would wake up in the middle of the night and feel extremely ill and camp out on the bathroom floor for most of the night. So as you can imagine, I wasn't sleeping much. And my day-to-day experiences, I called in sick to work a lot, and that's not conducive to much. And just by chance, I met the love of my life here, and he had a Touch of Healing book and introduced me to this art. And I started dabbling a little bit here and there, but it was more that it sat on the shelf and we didn't really, it wasn't a daily part of our lives. And then fast forward a handful of years and I took my first 5-day class and I felt really nauseous during the class. And in fact, it was Cynthia Broshi. And I said to her on day 2, I said, Cynthia, I don't know what's going on, but I feel really sick all the time when I'm in this class all night before going to bed last night, waking up this morning, I feel like, bleh. And she said, that's because you're cleaning yourself out, Amy. So keep doing it, keep working, push through it, keep breathing, and stop when you need to stop. You know, we all know ourselves better than anyone else. So anytime you need a break, take a break, but keep doing your homework. And it was during that class that she told me to do the 3rd method correction and stomach and spleen flows. And of those 3 options, the stomach flow really, that really, I hooked into that big time. I could tell shortly after starting to do that daily that that was making a big difference. I wasn't sure exactly what was happening, but I knew that something was changing and that it was a really good thing. So I stuck with it. And several years into doing my stomach flow, left and right sides, almost every single day, I can honestly and thankfully say that I rarely have those experiences like what I had before I started this art. And, you know, I'm a believer. Worked for me. Doesn't mean it's going to be perfect for everyone. It's going to work for everybody. But for me, it was the thing that changed my life. And so here I am sharing it with other people.
And typically we get most of our self-help in the evenings, when we're lying in bed, getting ready to fall asleep. In the morning, if we don't have to jump right out of bed, it's just a really good way to shut down and reboot before you start your day.
But having said that, I have had times at work, especially when it's getting pretty intense, and I can kind of feel that happening again. And I'll sit at my desk like this. And at this point, the people that I work with know that I do the weird woo-woo kind of stuff. And so it doesn't even faze them. But when I first started working there, they'd be like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just helping my digestion.
For me, the stomach function energy, doing the stomach flow self-help was super beneficial in relieving stress and anxiety around presentations in front of big groups. I worked for a food bank in Oregon as the what was I? Multicultural outreach coordinator. And as a result of that, I ended up giving a lot of presentations to partner agency volunteers, to our staff, and they were both in English and Spanish. And anytime I had to get up in front of a group, whether it was 5 to 10 people or 50 people, I could just feel my heart like bumping out of my chest, and I would get short of breath, and it was really difficult for me to speak without hearing this like catch in my voice. And so I would just sit there 10 minutes before I knew I had to present, and I would hold my thumbs and I would just focus on my breath. And that really, it made a huge difference for me. This is a great example of when, you know, in that critical moment, how the self-help can help us, especially if we're aware that we're going to be entering into a situation that exacts that kind of response. So I would be preemptive, and I would practice my stomach self-help. I would do the weird woo-woo one in the morning before I left the house, and when I'm sitting in the conference room before it's time to stand up in front of everybody, I would just hold my thumbs, and I usually like to hold them both together like that. You can figure out that little puzzle. And breathe, and it really did made all the difference in the world. It gave me my voice back. It made my heartbeat settle, and it made it possible for me to do my job. But it's a great example of how the stomach function energy is responsible for digestion, not just of our food, like Amy said, but of our thoughts and our experiences, and all of these things that are happening to and around us on a daily basis
constantly,
that we need to process. And if we don't process, they're just going to keep stacking up, and that's when we manifest the attitudes of stress and anxiety, because we're overwhelmed with our processing system is overwhelmed and doesn't know what to do with everything coming in, and we feel stressed. So that's my little personal story of how the stomach function energy has helped to balance my world a bit. But it's also a very pertinent flow for our puppy dog, Mahina. And I think now it would be a good time to kind of transition into a little demo of how we're going to translate this, holding our thumbs or holding our 21s and 22s, how that translates to working with, in this case, a dog who is quietly and patiently awaiting. If you've met Mahina before, you know that she is very sensitive, and she is on to us when we go to practice self-help with her. We rarely get more than a few seconds at a time of settled hands before she looks at us. What are you doing? I'm out of here. It so happens, though, that she absolutely loves for us to kind of gently massage, pet, rub her 21s.
And her 22s. So she will allow us to work with.
As long as at least one of those hands continues at least a little bit of movement, she'll eat it up for a little bit. So let's see if we can put our money where our mouth is. This is lovely Mahina. You may notice the stark resemblance between her and her little brother. Which is no coincidence for us when Amy picked that little snowball warrior up off the road. We said, uh-oh, we're going to have to keep this one. This one there's no mistaking it. The universe sent this one straight to us. So typically we like to focus on which hand is going where, right? So we're crossing the body and putting our right hand to the left, or the left hand to the right 21. which is, if you pick that up a little bit and get a little above view, right here below the eye, in between the eye and the nose. Okay, so I have my left hand on her right 21, and then my right hand, girl. My right hand is actually going to go, well, here's the 22, but I wanted to show you an alternate to the 22. So we do our Adele's baby math. 2 + 2 = 4. And that's right here behind the ear, at the base of the skull. So those are some options with that. The 21 is a 3, yeah, which is right here at the top of the shoulder blade. So we really could, if we have an animal who is not keen on being touched right here, which happens often, we could work really just on the back side of that animal and be pretty unintrusive as far as their personal space goes. But as we said, Mama really likes to have these guys here loved on. So that's what we're going to do. You know, ideally, you want to let your hands settle. Often when we're starting to connect with an animal, we'll pet them because they'll think we're crazy and we don't know how to pet otherwise. But we'll like to let our hands start to settle into a stasis. But as you see, the slower my hands get with this sweet girl, so hey, you're not doing your job.
Yeah, keep petting me.
But it's not to say that if our hands are moving that we're not helping the energy to move. We certainly are. We just had a really nice tummy gurgle there, which you likely didn't hear on the screen. But this is how we've been able to adapt and work with our sweet girl here, who's so sensitive to the touch. And experiences a lot of stress. You know, she came to us just a little more than 2 years ago. She's a senior dog, so she's maybe around the age of 10. You know, we don't know her backstory, but we do know that she does have a lot of stress triggers. She's a nervous drinker. Whenever we're getting ready to leave, she'll go to the water bowl and she will just empty the water bowl, fill that camel hump up, which is something that we have to be aware of when we're leaving her for a long day.
Yeah, and when we first got her, she was very leery of us being too close to her, sitting too close to her. The fact that she's lying right now with her front paws are like wrapped around his legs, and he's essentially like right in her space. That never would have happened 2 years ago.
No, we would have sat down. She would have got up and walked
to the other side of the room,
as far away as she could.
Yeah. Yeah, but as you can see, she's definitely she's not fighting him.
No, and even from the last session, whoever was with us with the last session, you know, we did take on perhaps a little bit more than we could chew as far as demonstrating.
No pun intended, stomach function energy.
As far as demonstrating where all 26 of the safety energy locks were located on the animal. But we were chasing her around the room, and it was a bit of a circus.
Yeah.
But as you can see, she really loves having her stomach energy balanced out. And we have a couple different options that we can do that with. Now, as we showed there at the end with our self-help, another option is the thumb. This is not somewhere we typically go with animals because a lot of them just don't like having their paws held. So let's see what Mama does. But it is an option, just as it is with us with animals. If you have an animal, and the thumb on the dog is right where that dew claw is, a little up from the paw. Yes. And you can see that she's not too keen on that.
No.
So we're going to respect that. But I just wanted to throw that out there as another option, an alternative to working with the stomach flow. Maybe you have somebody who doesn't like your hands near their head, but they're totally cool with you holding their paws. That's definitely something that you can do.
And Mary tells us that we can always go to the safety energy lock in the steps, in the flows that are most comfortable. So if you are familiar with the stomach flow, you know that in addition to the 21s and 22s, we also can work with the with the 14s and the 1s, the 8s, and a handful of other ones. Mama's getting a treat because she was a good girl.
This is her payment. We are not doing hard animal labor here. We do pay her for her work.
And now we've got just a few minutes before we're going to end our time here together. And
Sit back at the table.
yeah, we're wondering if there are any questions, comments, any stories that anyone would like to share with us.
Oh, yes, but while you think about that just for a second, before we pass that baton over to whoever would like to catch it, I always like to bring something from the Mary Says book into the study group. And generally the way I do that is just open it to whatever page is going to open up to. And today it was page 14, which is interesting because our 14s are really helping with our digestion.
Yeah.
Page 14, and I found actually 5 short quotes that were, in my perspective, pretty pertinent to our topic today. The first one, Mary says, "Do not let any thoughts go through your mind that you do not want to manifest." And as we discussed how the stomach energy helps us to digest not just our food, but our thoughts, helps us to empty out our brain so that we're not stressing. Mary says, thoughts are things. Our thoughts manifest. So guard your thoughts. The mind is the source of bondage or liberation, sorrow or joy. Mary says, how you fill your mind is what it will be. What we put into our fuel tank is what we are. She doesn't say that second part. It's just my translation. And the 5th one is, a breakthrough is to go beyond limits. Limits are imposed by ourselves. Self-imposed bondage. The 21s. Okay.
I'll open the floor up to you all. If anybody would like to say something or share something, ask a question.
Share a stomach flow, function energy story.
Go ahead and unmute yourself. Anyone?
Bueller? Bueller?
Jude, I see that you're unmuted. Did you want to say something?
Well, stomach function energy is one of my favorites. And I love how you presented it. And I love how you shared it with Shakira, whatever her name is.
It's Shakira Mahina. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, shift since you first started demoing on her. It was always drive-by Jin Shin Jyutsu, and now heading Jin Shin Jyutsu. And I think that's really valuable for folks who are trying this to not feel intimidated and feel like every animal needs to be Adele's perfect demo dog. So.
Right, because before you know it, it's going to be 2 more years down the road, and maybe we won't be having to pet at the same time.
Right.
Oh, look at that cutie.
Yeah.
Who's waving at us? Look at
that. Especially for those of us who are working in the rescue environment, you know, it's more often than not when you're meeting a new animal in that environment, that you're going to be doing drive-by Jin Shin Jyutsu, at
Yeah.
least at the beginning.
And even sitting in the corner of their kennel or their space, and you'll be practicing on yourself because the animal is sitting in the other corner looking at you like, I just don't know about this person.
Oh, I see we just had 2 people join us. Hi, Louise. Hi, Kiara. So
Hi,
nice to see
Kiara.
you.
Nice to see you all.
Just so you all know, we are recording this and we will be posting the link to the recording on our Facebook Exquisite Healing page and on Adele's Jin Shin Jyutsu for Your Animal Companion page.
And
So if you missed the beginning of it, it is available for you to watch from the start.
And if you are new to the study group and you would like to receive notifications about upcoming classes or events with the Jin Shin Jyutsu for Your Animal Companion faculty, if you would please leave your email address in the chat and we will put you on that mailing list. We promise it is not one of those bombarding lists where you're going to get 1 to 5 emails a day. They will be pertinent to Jin Shin Jyutsu for Your Animal Companion classes and events.
And we will not sell your information to anyone.
Yeah.
It's just for internal use.
Yeah.
hey, can you tell where you are? This is hot off the press.
This is me. Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, John.
So this is this is puppy.
Puppy,
doesn't-
puppy, puppy.
He doesn't have a name yet even. So our friend who has Kay, who gave birth to several puppies on our back porch during COVID. She's been Kay's mom for a couple of years. She's been volunteering at Berkeley County Animal Shelter this past week or 2. And they're just so overcrowded. Oh, the volunteers were taking dogs home, and Rachel ended up with puppy, who is about 4 months old, looks just like very skin and bones, and yeah, she may fail with this one and end up having 2 Ks. But yeah, so thanks. I'm glad I'm on the call, and I've been doing several flows, and I'm doing a anchor step of the stomach right now, and she just loves it.
Yeah, she's been sitting there the whole time, eating it up. Hi, cutie.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
She's about 4 months. We don't know how much human contact she's had, but she wasn't doing well in the shelter, and she's very malnourished and underweight. But she's very comfortable with this in her new temporary, almost permanent home.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yay!
Oh, hi, sweetie. Look at this cutie.
Who's recovered?
Awesome. Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, whoever is next is thinking about what they'd like to share with us. We'd also like to remind you guys that this is a bi-monthly study group on Thursdays always at 8 p.m. Eastern, always on this same Zoom link. So save the Zoom link. Our next class is the 3rd of November on Thursday, same time.
2 weeks from today.
As far as we know, nobody has signed up for that class yet to facilitate.
So it'll be a surprise.
It'll be a surprise.
We'll all get surprised and find out later who's going to be teaching what.
It may very well be Amy and I if nobody else signs up.
You
We'll just
never
have
know.
to see. But guaranteed that somebody will be there to share some stories and some self-help.
Little Jin Shin Jyutsu love for your animal companions.
Yeah. Is there anybody else that has anything to share about Jin Shin Jyutsu, how it relates to their experience? Adele?
Looks like Adele is unmuted. What would you like to say, my dear?
So I was just going to say, you know how we always kind of refer to it as the Jin Shin Jyutsu family, which is all sweet and blah, blah, blah. But This is the second call. I'm so pleased. See, Susan Reinhardt, that's my real family. Woohoo! Can you hold, is that Betty?
Yep.
Do you have Betty?
Oh, I thought we had Betty.
Yeah, that's Betty. Yeah, that's Betty. Yeah, she's learning.
Oh, is she a
Yeah.
Bichon?
Yeah.
Oh, cutie. No, Shih Tzu.
Oh, Shih Tzu.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and who's
And
this?
yeah. Oh, there's Betty. I'm sorry, I got the names wrong. Okay. Somebody's Betty. Betty's the big girl. Minnie. Okay. Anyway, also I was just gonna mention next Friday and Saturday, from 1 to 4 Eastern time, I'm teaching a 6-hour course with Wayne Hackett and Carlos Gutierrez. And yeah, I'm really, Wayne was my first teacher, very much responsible for me being on this planet. And Carlos was Blaine's first teacher, my partner. And so I'm real honored to be teaching with them. It's going to be kind of a deep dive into spleen and bladder. So general energy revitalizer and posterior descending, and why it is that those are such gateways into the animal.
Nice.
So if you want more details, look at the front page of my website.
Nice.
And if you look below that, you will always find a link for the study group. So thank you. Boy, she did great today. Oh my
She
God.
did, right? Oh, we're so proud of her.
Yeah.
And she didn't even run away after her treats. She's still in the same spot, which is awesome. Because usually she's like, okay, you gave me my treats. I did my thing. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a
Thank
good
you.
girl.
Thank you both.
Yeah. Well, if nobody else has anything they'd like to share.
Oh.
Anne?
Yeah, go ahead, Anne.
Great. So I have my pit bull who is almost 10, and he was in for his, I don't know where he is. He's usually right there, but anyway, we went in for shots, and I said, let's do a general exam. And especially his teeth, he unfortunately was given by someone else some antler, which cracked his teeth, and we've had surgeries to remove them. And so, but this time the vet found what she calls a mass, which is on the lower right side. And she's suggesting that she go in, and there's extensive surgery and a lot of things that I don't really want to do. So I just thought it's sort of different when it's your own animal. So I just thought if you guys have thoughts, since it's the mouth, it's certainly related to digestion ones. It's farther back on the right. And he's had a lot of the front ones removed. So any thoughts? I would love to hear them.
Well, it's interesting to me. I mean, with the human mouth, I always like to look at a little diagram of the teeth and which tooth relates to which organ function energy. I know the stomach is back here in the back, one of those teeth.
I have that. I can't find it.
But so yeah, Google that and see. But I think the stomach would help with one of those back teeth. But when you said a mass, that immediately led me to think of both the lung function energy and the gallbladder, which both on different levels work with accumulations in the body, right?
And Adele, would you remind us? I remember during class, you would talk about how important it is to make sure you cover the whole span of the jaw when you're holding, because each finger then is connecting.
And
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. And in this particular situation, I would think about right on the jaw area without pressure, if you can be focused on that mass. And then it's awkward on yourself, but left on left 26,
On the 26,
which so
yeah.
helps to dissolve
dissolve
So-
accumulations, right?
26, that upper kitty, no pun intended, area. Um, that will,
Something
Appreciate it.
else.
help really. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought you were done.
No, that would be my go-to place. I would look at that 20 minutes a day. I would look at it 20 minutes at a time, 3 times a day in an ideal world.
Mhm. Yeah.
Something else that just came to me from 5-day classes with tooth projects. I feel like, if I remember correctly, that if you have a project tooth on, say, the upper left side, that you want to connect with that the same tooth on the upper right side to work with the one that's on this side. Does that sound familiar to anybody who's done the 5 days?
You're not getting any
No.
takers.
I think that's. I think
Sounds
that is-
familiar, but without double checking my notes, I don't.
Right.
I'd say like 95% sure on that.
Cool.
But
I
that's-
was just wondering, so it's lower on the right. If
Okay.
it might have, if because, if dogs have that diagonal connection that we do,
Mhm.
what if, maybe the lower left leg, especially the 8, which is tooth related, I think.
Wayne
Okay.
talks about the opposite low 8, from the 8 clearing down through the low 8, which of course has a relationship to the 26, the opposite 26.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and really, while you're connecting with that 8, you can likely connect with the 1 at the same time, which is going
Right.
to both amplify the work and help with movement on all
Right.
levels. So
Yeah.
Cool.
Cleaning
Right.
and
Thank you so
clearing.
much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, keep us posted and let us know how that goes.
yeah.
Yeah.
It can be super stressful when they're having projects like that and they can't verbally explain to us, their level of pain or discomfort.
Right.
Kiara, did you get a haircut? Oh,
No,
there it
it's
is.
in a ponytail.
Mm.
Kiara is a dear friend of ours from Eugene. We've known Kiara for many years at this point, and it's an honor for us to have her on the call. It's very nice to see her again. Anyone else?
Thank you, guys.
Well,
Thank you
We're
so
gonna-
much, everyone, for joining us and spending a little bit of your time with us, sharing this wonderful art of living.
yeah, it was nice to see your shining faces
Mhm.
and fun to share.
Share some smiles.
Thank you.
So
Thank
hope to
you.
see everybody in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yep, 2 weeks.
Okay.
Make sure to put your emails in the chat.
Okay. Signing out.
Aloha.
Aloha. Love you all.
Bye, everyone.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Did we stop now? Stop.